In 1905, the English botanist Sir Albert Howard was sent to India to educate farmers on Western agricultural techniques. Upon observing the traditional practices by Indian farmers, Howard soon realized he had far more to learn from them. At the center of his discovery was the relationship between soil health, fertility, and the entire ecosystem, something that industrial agriculture was beginning to overlook. Howard said, "The health of soil, plant, animal, and man is one and indivisible."
We're always amazed because even farmers or gardeners or anybody, general lay people, we never really have this discussion about the life in the soil, what's going on underneath the ground. And just as there's a complex web of life above the soil, there's just as much going on below the soil. But we never interact with it, we never see it, mostly because it's happening on a microscopic level. Well, mostly because it's under the ground and we're not looking under the ground.
Soil in general is having so many organisms in it, starting from your single cell bacteria, viruses, protozoans, and then you go back, there are mammals are there, in desert soil snakes are there, rats are there. So all of them are having an ecosystem, that is we call soil ecosystem.
Right now you can see a nematode. So this is a microscopic worm that's able to eat a lot of organic material and also smaller microbes and then mineralize them and really help the soil. So add a lot of nutrients to the soil. The nematode is great at nutrient cycling. So we're really excited to see it in the sample today.
See another nematode here.
When I say about the size and why we started working in the desert on microarthropods, which we cannot see through our eyes. When you see an ecosystem, if you have an idea of ecosystem, what is happening? It is a pyramidal shape in the food chain. For a good soil and healthy soil, you need diversity. Diversity means different kind of organisms. So different kind of organisms will do different jobs. We index them. It is a numerical number based on their functioning, activity and the morphology. So which soil gets the highest index number, we take it as a healthy soil, is a fertile soil, and the crop will grow on it.
Sufficient microbial population should be there in any soil. The organisms which is helping, their population should be there. If they are lacking, then other organisms which is not beneficial, that will kill them actually. You see, we are concentrating on organic farming mainly to build up carbon into the system, as well as to increase the enzyme concentration, and that way we are also making plants more active so that we need not have to feed much nutrient from outside. That way we can reduce the fertilizer consumption.
We use chemical fertilizers, agrochemicals. If I say, it will cover your pesticides, herbicides, fertilizer, everything. So what is happening? They ultimately reach to the soil. They go to your below ground water bodies because leaching will be there. What we spray on the plants, of course they go, they decomposes with the sun rays, but most of the amount leaches out in the soil. So when it reaches soil, soil chemical nature is affected. These organisms die and fertility is affected.
डेंजर तो है ही है जी, क्या किया जाए। ये लोग सोचते हैं भी अपने बेनिफिट के लिए सब कुछ कर रहे हैं। कंपनी की तो मीटिंग हुई, तो आपको मैं वहाँ लेके चलूँगा, वो दिखाएंगे भी क्या से ये स्प्रे करते हैं तो क्या फंक्शन होता है, ये करेंगे तो इसका क्या इफेक्ट है।
आने वाले दिनों के लिए यह है कि लोग इतना डालते रहेंगे तो आगे आगे लुकारी ज़मीन बर्बाद होती जाएगी। ये जो वो हो रखा ये केमिकल डालना बंद हुआ वो सबसे अच्छा है। हम लोग 3 महीना भी यहाँ पानी में रहते हैं तब भी हमारे हाथ पैर इतने ख़राब नहीं होते जितने हमारे शुरू में पहले साल हुए थे। इतनी खुजली हुई, नेगी सर के रात भर चिल्लाता रहा वो पानी में, ऊपर से यूरिया डाई गंदक आई उसमें और कीचड़ में जब रहा। तो फिर हमने वो पराती में गर्म पानी करके नमक डाल के उसके पैर रखाया। दूसरे दिन बोला मैं खेत में नहीं जाऊँगा। तब से हम केमिकल कुछ नहीं डालते। और तरह पर हम ये भी नहीं डालते जैसे चूहा मारने की दवाई हो, क्या अनाज में हमारे कितने भी कीड़े लगे बचाते बचाते लगी जाते हैं, क्यों नया भी है पुराना भी है, पर हम कोई केमिकल नहीं डालते।
Charles Darwin once wrote of the worm, "It may be doubted whether there are many other animals which have played so important a part in the history of creatures. The worm is at the center of one of the most effective natural processes of soil fertility. Vermicompost is one of several organic techniques that farmers employ to take care of their soil using the natural resources around them, such as cow dung, bio-waste, and medicinal plants."
ये अपने घर की उसकी खाद के डंगरों के साथ जो अपने डंगरों की खाद बनाते हैं, तैयार करते हैं और खेतों में डालते हैं। और इससे एक फ़ायदा और है, इससे जो जैसे क्या क्या रासायनिक खाद डालते हैं उससे खेत, जैसा अभी हल लगा रहा हूँ मैं तो हल जोतने में दिक्कत होती है, सख्त हो जाती है मिट्टी, ऊपर की जो परत है ना वो सख्त हो जाती है। और जो गोबर की खाद डालते हैं उसमें नमी रहती है, ज़्यादा नमी रहती है और फसल भी अच्छी होती है।
मिट्टी क्या है, क्योंकि मिट्टी को अधिकतर लोग समझते हैं कि ये एक वस्तु है जिससे लिया जाए, बस लिया जाए, वापस कुछ ना दिया जाए। अगर आप विविधता वाली फसलें उगा रहे हैं तो उसमें आपको फसलों से ही सिक्योरिटी मिल जाती है कि एक फसल दूसरी फसल के लिए वापस कुछ नाइट्रोजन दे रहा है या आयरन दे रहा है, कैल्शियम दे रहा है।
Due to its dependence on fertilizers, pesticides and oil for farm machinery, current industrial systems of monoculture are responsible for 1/3 of the global greenhouse gas emissions, as well as the increasing contamination of our soil and water with petrochemicals. The destruction of soil structure and soil life poses grave threats to the quality of farming and to our biodiversity and climate stability. In organic farming, the plants in soil are more active, extracting and fixing atmospheric carbon and nitrogen through natural processes. The soil is healthier without chemical inputs and greenhouse gas emissions are reduced. There is more moisture, more nutrients, and the ecosystem protects itself through its own biodiversity and creativity.
Entire farm is trying to mimic the forest, but also trying to yield not only food but also other materials for not just human beings as well as wildlife, for other creatures. So that is the main aim, where biodiversity serves the purpose of living in harmony with nature. What the people have done in this region is evolved a system of farming in which the soil nutrients are able to maintain the fertility for last 1000 years. So what we have to do is, because of the heavy rainfall in this region, all the rainfall will leach away, take away the topsoil and the nutrients. So any work to work with the soil and farming will need to see that this soil is preserved. So mulching is very important. Second, it is the organic material which goes in, and that is very important in order to hold the moisture. So it is mulching, as well as when we put that dead material, when the rainfall is heavy, it doesn't wash off, it just protects the soil, binds the soil there itself. So it is a multiple purpose. It puts back the nutrients as well as it protects from leaching away.
मक्की काट दी, तोड़िया बो दिया, उसमें डाल दिया, मटर बो दिया, उसमें डाल दिया, मटर काटी जल्दी जल्दी, फिर उसमें गेहूँ बो दिया, गेहूँ काटे, अब गेहूँ काट के अब फटाफट अब लोग मक्की बो देंगे। तो लोगों की इतनी जल्दी है, जल्दी तो हर इंसान सोच रहा है, पर ये नहीं सोच रहा कि आगे हमारा क्या नुकसान है इसमें, ये कोई नहीं सोच रहा। खाली ये सोच रहे कितना उगा सके, हम कितना उगाएंगे, क्योंकि फर्स्ट चल रहे ना, आगे 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 आगे। ये नहीं देख रहे कि ज़मीन कितना नुकसान हो रही है इतना जल्दी जल्दी। थोड़ा उनको ज़मीन को भी तो थोड़ा रेस्ट चाहिए। जैसे हम लोग काम करके थकते तो हम भी तो बोलते थोड़ा आराम करेंगे, तो ज़मीन भी तो कुछ दिन आराम चाहिए उसके लिए भी, तभी तो वो सही रहेगी।
The soil is both affected by and contributes to climate instability. In recent decades, farmland in India has suffered under erratic weather and rainfall patterns, with some regions becoming drier and others wetter and more vulnerable to flooding. This change in climate patterns is also damaging the physical structure of soils. The organic matter is affected and its balance is crucial to soil nutrition, the amount of water the soil can hold, and the population of soil organisms. In addition, the construction of dams and hydroelectrical projects in close proximity to farmland has left the soil even more susceptible to erosion. The future of our ecology rests in understanding the links between farming practices, the health of the land, and the stability of our climate. When the same companies responsible for the contamination of soil and corruption of farming practices begin to buy and control soil and climate data, there is the great danger that the manipulation of knowledge will become just another tool for the corporate farming sector. This science and knowledge of the soil must belong freely to those who work on the soil, those who live by it and take care of it.
With the microscope, you can take a sample of chemical soil, you can take a sample of organic soil, and the farmer doesn't need to be able to read or study. He can just simply see the difference, that in one there's not much going on and the other is just bursting full of life. So what we like to do is we have the discussion about what is in the soil, how that helps the plant, and then really to drive it home with just the simple demonstration of chemical soil versus organic soil so they can see the difference.
अपन ने जैसे 45 दिन बेड लगाया था, और पेड़ लगाने के बाद में इसमें बैक्टीरिया छोड़ा, तो बैक्टीरिया ने ये सभी इस टाइप का कन्वर्शन दे दिया अपन को। यानी ये कन्वर्ट होने के बाद में इतना अच्छा खाद, यानी जो पोषक अपने ज़मीन के लिए होना चाहिए, और सभी यानी इसमें एजोटोबैक्टर, राइजोबियम, ट्राइकोडर्मा, सभी प्रकार के इसमें बैक्टीरिया है कि जो अपन को पोषण देते हैं।